faire
Bien
une
sûr.
opinion. Jusqu'à maintenant, les retours ont été majoritairement positifs, ce qui est très, très, très encourageant. Mais voilà, tout le monde a le droit de se faire une opinion. Les retours sont positifs. Je suis étonné du nombre de gens qui ont compris un petit peu la philosophie du film. Moi, je pensais que...
Est-ce qu'il faut le voir plusieurs fois pour
Oui,
comprendre les
moi, je
messages
pense-
cachés qui sont derrière
Exactement.
With Radio Algeria International, you will not miss a single major political or economic event. Radio Algeria International, our voice in the world.
This is the English service of Radio Algeria International. It's time for the news.
In today's top stories, Algeria has expressed satisfaction about the UN Security Council decision to extend the mandate of the UN interim force in Lebanon for another year. The members of the Security Council have called on all Libyan parties to commit themselves fully and in good faith to advance in the political process. The United Nations has warned that the Zionist military operations in the West Bank risk worsening an already catastrophic situation in the Palestinian territory. Hello and welcome. The President of the Republic, Abdelmajid Tebboune, has sent his best wishes for success to the Algerian athletes taking part in the Paris Paralympic Games. On his official social media account, the President of the Republic wrote, quote, "All the best to our elite athletes taking part in the Paris Paralympic Games. May you honor Algeria and Algerians as you have always done. You have our full support. You will succeed by the grace of God." Now, support for strategic sectors of the national economy was at the heart of the speeches made by the candidates in the 7th September presidential election and the representatives who stepped up the meetings and outreach activities on Wednesday, the 14th day of the election campaign. The details with Said Bougazi.
The candidate of the Socialist Forces Front FFS, Youssef Aouchiche, who was a guest of the El Mujahid Forum, called for a high turnout in this election in order to lay the foundations for a diversified national economy capable of creating wealth, which he said would protect Algeria from external shocks and dependence on hydrocarbons, which should instead be a support for the national economy. To this end, he said the electoral program of the FFS proposes the establishment of local economic centers based on the specific characteristics of each region with a view to a decentralized and balanced economy while providing for the encouragement of competitiveness and local initiative for investment and the reduction of unemployment. Aouchiche, who also took part in a local event in Blida, pledged to carry out reforms in the justice sector and establish the rule of law, in addition to strengthening the prerogatives of the legislative power. In this connection, he put forward a series of proposals, particularly on the social front, citing in particular the preservation of the citizens' purchasing power through an increase in the guaranteed minimum national wage (SNMG) to 40,000 dinars, the suspension of income tax (ERG) on salaries below 50,000 dinars, an increase in family allowances, and the creation of new allowances. For their part, the leaders of political groups supporting the independent candidate Abdelmajid Tebboune stressed the importance of voting in favor of Abdelmajid Tebboune on election day so that he can pursue his commitments, particularly in terms of the country's socio-economic development. Speaking from Tlemcen, Mustafa Yahi, Secretary General of the National Democratic Rally RND, said that mobilizing support for Abdelmajid Tebboune would enable him to continue his support for farmers and thereby the process of building a solid economy. Speaking from Tiaret, the president of the El Mustaqbal Front, Fateh Boutbiq, said that the election of the independent candidate Abdelmajid Tebboune would make it possible to work towards developing the economy by opening up major projects. From Ain Timushent, Abdullah Haddad, Secretary General of the National Militancy Front FMN party, said that the independent candidates program attaches great importance to the social aspect by improving care for various social categories such as people with special needs and housewives. At a popular rally in the province of Janat, the candidate of the Movement of the Society for Peace MSP, Abdel Ali Hassani Sharif, pledged to promote development in the southern regions and to launch projects to meet the aspirations of their inhabitants. He pledged, if elected on 7 September, to launch economic projects that would improve the standard of living of the inhabitants and provide jobs for young people, pointing out that this young province abounds in tourist potential. The MSP candidate also stated that his electoral program encourages investment in agriculture and mining exploration and is also based on a policy enabling the creation of subcontracting companies in various fields. Finally, he called on citizens to participate massively in the elections to contribute to laying the foundations of democracy and to support him with their votes on 7 September.
Algeria ranked 7th in the world in terms of volumes of natural gas exported in 2023, with a total of 52 billion cubic meter, according to the International Gas Union in its latest report entitled Global Gas Report 2024. The document, produced in collaboration with the Italian natural gas transmission operator SNAM and the independent energy research and monitoring company Restart Energy, shows that Algeria exported a total of 18 billion cubic meter of liquefied natural gas and 34 billion cubic meter by pipeline during the past year. The Sahrawi Minister of Foreign Affairs, Mohamed Sidati, has said in Algiers that the Sahrawi people are determined to continue their legitimate struggle to exercise their right to self-determination, assuring that neither the corruption nor the baltaja engaged in by the Makhzen would weaken the Sahrawis' determination to wrest their freedom and independence. Said Bougazi again.
Speaking at a press conference at the Sahrawi embassy, Mohamed Sidati referred to the recent diplomatic victory achieved by the Sahrawi cause at the ministerial meeting of the Tokyo International Conference on African Development (TICAD) and to the escalation of the repressive policy of the Moroccan occupation in the occupied Sahrawi territories to cover up its failure. In this respect, Mohamed Sidati condemned the barbaric aggression committed by the Moroccan delegation against the Sahrawi delegation after the failure of Moroccan attempts to hinder the participation of the Sahrawi Republic in this meeting, underlining that Morocco, since its accession to the African Union in 2017, has not ceased to try to call into question the membership of the Sahrawi state, a founding member of this continental union, and to hinder its presence in the partnerships of the African Union with other organizations and countries. In his view, the last TICAD meeting set the record straight and confirmed Morocco's failure in its attempts, as was the case in Mozambique, Tunisia, and Japan for the second time. Indeed, he said, the final communiqué of the Ministerial Council in Tokyo unanimously reiterated the right of all EU members to participate in summits and partnership meetings. He said this is not the first time that Morocco has resorted to lies, distortion of the facts and media disinformation in an attempt to play down the setbacks and bitter diplomatic failures of its expansionist policy in Western Sahara.
The members of the Security Council have called on all Libyan parties to commit themselves fully and in good faith to advancing the political process, refraining from any unilateral action that could increase tensions, undermine confidence, and widen divisions and institutional discord in the country. In a communiqué adopted unanimously at the initiative of Algeria within the A3+ group and the United Kingdom, the members of the Council expressed their concern at the recent developments and tensions in Libya and called on Libyan actors and institutions to refrain from any unilateral action likely to increase tensions, undermine confidence, and widen institutional divisions and discord among Libyans. The members of the Security Council also urged all Libyan political, economic and security leaders and institutions to de-escalate tensions, refrain from the use or threat of force, or to take economic measures aimed at exerting pressure and to achieve a consensual solution to the current crisis concerning the central bank. Now, the UN Security Council has voted to extend the mandate of the UN interim force in Lebanon for another year. Algeria has expressed satisfaction with the UN Security Council decision. During the meeting, Algeria's Deputy Permanent Representative at the UN, Nassim Gawawi, condemned the systematic Zionist violation of Lebanon's sovereignty and warned against rising tension along the Blue Line.
Algeria expresses satisfaction at the unanimous adoption of the resolution, thus showing the importance of the UNIFIL mission and the unity of the Council in calling for and supporting the end of the aggression and the implementation of Resolution 1701 in its entirety. My country voted in favor of the text adopted today on account of the role of this mission in preserving peace and security not only in Lebanon but in the whole Middle East region.
Mr. Gawawi warned against dragging the region into a broader regional conflict given the ongoing volatile situation caused by the Israeli aggression against innocent Palestinians.
The region is going through a critical and dangerous situation due to the barbaric aggression of the Israeli occupation against the defenseless Palestinian people, particularly in the Gaza Strip, which risks to drag the region into a regional conflict whose repercussions would go beyond the Middle East.
Sierra Leone representatives stressed the need for the extension due to the worsening situation in the Middle East, urging for compliance with international resolutions.
The role of UNIFIL remains relevant, and the renewal of the mandate for 12 months is more important now than ever before, given the prevailing circumstances on the ground. Events since October 7, 2023 have only underscored the importance of the UNIFIL mission.
Algeria has renewed her call for an immediate and permanent ceasefire in Gaza, emphasizing the interconnectedness of Middle Eastern crises due to escalating Zionist violations. During the UN Security Council on Lebanon, Algeria's Deputy Permanent Representative at the UN, Nassim Gawawi, blamed the Israeli occupation for the increase in tensions and escalation in the region.
تجدد بلادي الدعوة لوقف إطلاق النار بغزة وتشدد. My country renews the call for a ceasefire in Gaza and stresses the link between the crises of the region and avoiding dragging it into a regional conflict that goes inevitably through stopping the Israeli barbaric war machine against the Palestinian people. The tensions along the Blue Line and the systematic violation by the Israeli occupier on Lebanon's sovereignty confirms once again the need to guarantee the full implementation of Resolution 1701, notably the complete withdrawal from the occupied Lebanese lands. Finally, my country believes that the main reason behind the instability in the Middle East is the occupation of Arab lands, and that the eradication of this occupation is a condition for peace and security in the region.
وأن زوال هذا الاحتلال شرط السلم والأمن بالمنطقة.
That was Algeria's Deputy Permanent Representative at the UN, Nassim Gawawi. Now, the toll of the Zionist aggression against the Gaza Strip has risen to 40,602 martyrs and 93,855 wounded, most of them children and women, since the 7th of October 2023, according to the Palestinian health authorities. 29 international NGOs have warned that the so-called humanitarian zone now represents a tenth of the Palestinian enclave, denouncing a new operational reality in Gaza. The NGOs, in a new report on the Obstacles to Humanitarian Aid in Gaza said the latest orders for forced displacement have affected many sectors within the zone, reducing its size from 12.6% to less than 10% of the Gaza Strip. The details in this report.
While July was marked by the lowest quantity of aid entering the Gaza Strip since the start of the military offensive, the NGOs are now facing new restrictions, less aid allowed in, and more forced displacement orders issued by the Zionist occupiers inside the so-called humanitarian zone. In August, 16 forced displacement orders by the Zionist occupation army pushed civilians and humanitarian workers into an ever smaller area. It is now less than 36.5 square kilometers, added the report published on Wednesday. The NGOs deplored the forced displacement of more than 250,000 people during the month of August, claiming that their operations had been severely impacted by these evacuation orders. According to Mahmoud Islam, head of operations from Médecins du Monde in Palestine, quoted in the report, the army of the Zionist entity asphyxiates the population of Gaza a little more every day by imposing restrictions on humanitarian aid that contravenes international humanitarian law. For these NGOs, with the resurgence of epidemics such as polio, these restrictions are all the more inhumane as they prevent people from access to urgent medical care and basic necessities such as food and water. Detailing the increased restrictions imposed on international NGOs, the report refers to the lack of concrete measures to protect humanitarian workers in the Gaza Strip. The NGOs claim that the Zionist entity has put in place two measures that in reality do not guarantee the protection of humanitarian workers, ensuring that they are taking unprecedented risks to deliver aid.
A UN vehicle forming part of a humanitarian convoy has been hit by Zionist occupying forces in Gaza without causing any casualties, a UN spokesman announced, denouncing the latest event of this type. Stéphane Dujarric, spokesman for the UN Secretary-General, said the following.
Yesterday evening, a clearly marked UN humanitarian vehicle, part of a convoy that had been fully coordinated with the IDF, was struck 10 times by IDF gunfire, including with bullets targeting front windows. The two staff members in the vehicle were thankfully unharmed. We reiterate that parties must respect international humanitarian law at all times. That means that civilians must be protected and their essential needs, including food, water, shelter, and health, must be met wherever they may be in Gaza. This applies to those under evacuation orders, regardless whether they move or not. And those who leave must have enough time to do so, as well as safe routes and safe places to go.
This is not the first time that a UN convoy has come under fire since the start of the Zionist genocidal aggression in Gaza on the 7th of October 2023. UN Secretary-General Antonio Guterres has declared that the Zionist entity must cease immediately its large-scale military incursion into the occupied West Bank. On Wednesday, Antonio Guterres strongly condemned the loss of human life, including children, and called for an immediate end to these operations. The United Nations has warned that Zionist military operations in the West Bank on Wednesday risk worsening an already catastrophic situation in the Palestinian territory. The Zionist occupation army launched a series of raids in 4 towns: Jenin, Nablus, Tabas and Tulkarem. Every year on August 29, the world observes the International Day Against Nuclear Tests. This significant day serves as a global reminder of the devastating effects of nuclear weapons testing. On the occasion, UN Secretary-General Antonio Guterres said that across nearly 8 decades, more than 2,000 nuclear tests were conducted at more than 60 sites around the world. He stressed that these tests left a legacy of destruction, rendering lands uninhabitable and creating long-term health problems for people. On the International Day Against Nuclear Tests, the world must speak with one voice to end this practice once and for all. You're still listening to Radio Algeria International. This is the English service.